everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Ali.
And I'm Sarah.
And my goodness, do we have an episode for you.
I feel like we say that in every intro now.
I know, but it's all kicking off. We've got to do it.
It is fun when like the NWSL and the WSL collide. Because like last week, we talked about the NWSL semifinals, which were both a blast, but there wasn't much to talk about in the WSL. And this week, we get both.
It's like the WSL gods heard us and we're like, right, you want something to talk about? We'll give you something to talk about.
Yeah, so we are going to kick it off by talking about the NWSL. We will go around the world as always, and then we're going to talk WSL. We get to highlight Arsenal versus West Ham, which we promise we didn't plan to do. We were actually just going to talk about Brighton, and then the Arsenal-West Ham game happened.
Yeah.
But we're still going to talk about Brighton. We're going to talk about both Arsenal-West Ham and Brighton.
Let's do it. Let's start off with the NWSL playoff final. Spoiler alert, people. Portland Thorns won 2-0.
Congratulations to Thorns fans. If you're out there listening, congratulations. Like, first things first, Portland was the best team all year. Yes, they barely lost the Shield. OL won the Shield because Portland kind of, messed up their last game. But overall, I do think that the best team in this league won in the championship.
I would agree, to be honest. I would. I think Portland have been pretty solid all season. Like you said, it was like the last tiny slip up at the end that cost them the Shield, but they were the favourites going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and if I sound sad, I'm very happy for Portland. I am disappointed, and we'll get on to that. I have to ask you, though, Ali, does this make you like the playoffs better? Because at the end of the day here, OL Reign would have ended up winning the league if there were not playoffs. But because of the playoffs, the best team in the league, potentially, arguably, I guess, did win. So do you like the playoffs more now?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I had to try.
So let's talk about the atmosphere as a whole, because you were there rocking out in DC.
That's a great way to say it. I was rocking out in DC. It was a great atmosphere. Like, I have only good things to say about what the NWSL did for this entire weekend. And everybody I've talked to also has had only great things to say. The entire weekend was fantastic. They had 2 media days, which they structured just wonderfully for anybody who has press. And then for all of the fans, they had great events leading up to the game. Women in soccer put on this amazing pickup game on Saturday morning, the day of the game. Tons of fan clubs had meet and greets, places to meet up. The Fan Fest was incredible. The commissioner was at the Fan Fest speaking. Like, there was just so much, and the energy around it was just incredible. So it was a great weekend overall, I have to say.
I was going to say, it looked so well put together and like really for the fans.
It did feel like a celebration of like, let's celebrate soccer and let's celebrate the good things and let's have a good time to close out this season. It was all positive. And that matters. That really matters. We ended this season after going through so much on a high, really, where everybody could just enjoy the soccer of it.
Yeah, let's talk about the actual game, because as much fun and as much like of a blast the actual like build-up was, let's be honest, the game was a bit lackluster. It was a bit of a damp squib.
A damp squib. It was.
To the end of what had been a fantastic build-up. The season had been, like, amazing. The playoff games, as much as I hate them, all of them have been fun to watch.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect description of it. The playoffs this year have been an absolute blast, right? Like, all of them have been so close. And this was the first year that the NWSL Finals, the championship game, was on a prime time television slot.
Yeah.
And that has to be noted because that is really important. This is the first time you can, turn on Channel 3, and if you just turn on your TV, it's there. And because of that, I really, really wanted this to be an incredible game, like a hard-fought match, great soccer, just really engaging. And the product that we know that the NWSL can and has been putting out on the field. And that's why it was disappointing when it just wasn't quite that. Mainly because I feel like it just would have been good. It would have been better for the league if it was a tighter game. That's all, really.
I kind of wished that we had the performance of Portland's semi-final, so Portland versus San Diego. I wish we'd had that sort of game.
Yes. Well, I think Portland performed well, which we're going to talk about. I wish we had Kansas City's performance in the first 2 playoff games here against Portland, but alas, we did not. And I feel for Kansas City because they're better than that.
Do you think they got overawed? Do you think that because this was Kansas's first big moment and they were just sort of like overwhelmed and overawed? And
I don't know. That's a great question. I really don't know. What I can say about Kansas City is that it seemed like they were uncomfortable on the ball. They were uncomfortable maintaining possession. Whether that came from nerves or whether that came from the fact that they couldn't figure out how to break down Portland or how to maintain possession against them, whether it was a tactical or emotional thing, I don't think that the moment was too big for them. I think that the game plan was not what it should have been. And that doesn't usually happen to Matt Potter, but I think it happened. I think it happened this weekend. I think it was more of a tactical thing.
All right, so we've already brought them in, so let's talk about them. Kansas City, like I said, they were very underwhelming. They got completely overworked, overrun by Portland. They conceded very quickly, and it sort of went downhill from there.
Yeah. I mean, oh gosh, let's just talk about that first goal. I think that Kansas City went into this game completely underestimating the front 3 of Portland. And I think it's important to note that, Portland plays with a front 3 and Kansas City plays with a back 3. And that's a very difficult matchup. And that is actually why I think Kansas City might have underestimated Portland's front 3 is because Kansas City's been playing this back 3 all year. They've played against a front 3. That's nothing new for them to have that one-on-one matchup. But let's bring it back to that first goal. Ball just went in completely wrong. I was sitting in the stands being like, did she slip? Because it looked so off timing that I was like, she had to have slipped because that was such an off tackle. And I hate singling players out. You're allowed to have nerves. You're allowed to have a bad play. But, in the first 15 minutes of the championship game, and that's how you're going into the tackle, even if you had gone in and gotten a yellow card and taken her out, fine. But how she went in there, and I'm sure she was trying to avoid a full-blown red, but that was terrible defending to kick off the game for Kansas City, and they never recovered from it.
No, because you've conceded within the first 5 minutes. And like you said, that you felt like Ball was just trying to not get herself sent off so early, but it just backfired. And then let's talk about Smith.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a beautiful goal. As poor as it was for Ball, the composure that Sophia Smith still needed to have to finish that goal is, I think, underestimated. And that was an incredible finish. But from there, you really want Kansas City to respond well. And it felt like the whole game, they didn't. It felt like the whole game we were waiting for that urgency. We were waiting for them to go on the attack, and they didn't. And they couldn't figure out how to.
No, and you're watching it, and they're seem to be oh, let's just get the long balls over to our strikers. Let's just go up. And you're like, you look at Portland's back line. You can't play long balls like that because they're going to get swept up by Becky Sauber and they're going to get swept up by the keepers and stuff like that. They're going to beat you to that ball every single time. It's not worked the first 10 times. Why aren't you changing it?
I totally agree. It was balls in over the top. And I take 2 issues with that. Number 1 is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Number 2 is, look, I'm okay with balls over the top. If you want to play that ball to Kristen Hamilton, because Portland was applying so much pressure, you need that outlet sometimes. That's fine. Play that ball over the top to Kristen Hamilton. But then it was just Hamilton alone.
Exactly.
1v4 or at best 2v4 against Portland's defensive 4. And she was trying to go at Portland with numbers down instead of doing what she does really well that we've talked about here on the podcast. Hold up play, hold the ball, wait for your team to get forward. And there was none of that. And that's tactically, I think, what went wrong for Kansas City. They got caught defending, so they got caught too low, and they could never get forward enough. So they just kept trying to counter, and it was never going to work against Portland.
No, absolutely not. And it was weird to see Hamilton nullified because she'd been so strong. And to be honest, I don't think it was entirely her fault because she's trapped. Because I'm like, where is La Benita we've been talking about? Where is your midfield?
Yeah, LaBonta and Loera had some tough games in the center of the pitch.
Yeah.
They really did. And I honestly, the sad thing is I can't look at Kansas City's lineup and say anybody had a great game.
No.
Haley Mace had a pretty good second half, and that's really what I can call out. I don't think anybody had a great game, and that's not how you're going to win a championship.
Let's talk about Portland. Let's talk about the beauty that was the way Portland went into that game. They had a game plan. They stuck with that game plan. They had put out their best 11, I think.
You think Sink is in their best 11?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, maybe it's the sentimentality in me, but
look, no, I'm not trying to trash the legend. I have the utmost respect for Sinclair. But let's be honest, she didn't touch the ball a lot in that game.
All right, I will rephrase and say that they brought in their best defensive four.
Okay, yeah.
I will retract my original statement. I will say that defensively, you are not getting past that back four.
Yeah, I love that you're calling out that back four because I want to highlight them. They had a great game. They played together so beautifully. Kuika had a stunning game. She's the one who really was like 1v1 versus Hamilton. And then, I mean, Becky Sauerbrunn did Becky Sauerbrunn things. And I want to give love to Kelly Hubley too, because she played absolutely incredible in that back line as well.
Kelly Hubley was a revelation for me in that game. Because, because like she'd been good like all season, like that I'd seen her. But that game, I was like, damn. Like, again, I don't know if it's the way that she was interacting with her centre-back pairing with Sauerbrunn or what it was, but it made me see her in a completely different light.
I have some fun behind-the-scenes information about Kelly Hubley, and it just made me...
Good.
It's fantastic. I absolutely love her so much. So for the first media day, it was just this incredible day where you get free reign to just go talk to any player. And I was chatting with a lot of the players, and I was asking them all the same questions at the end of our conversations because I wanted to know about the team. So I was asking them who's most likely to. And I swear Kelly Hubley's name came up 90% of the time. Everybody was outing her. Kelly Hubley was definitely outed as the locker room dancer. It was her and Crystal Dunn, but more so than not, everybody's like, Kelly Hubley, Kelly Hubley. And then my favorite, where I think she was named 100% of the time, was I asked who's most likely to eat a really bad post-game meal, go to McDonald's or eat some ice cream. And everybody was like, Kelly Hubley, without a doubt. That girl is a tank. I don't know how she does it.
Oh, they called her out.
Yeah. And so, and she was hilarious. I talked to her too, and she was like, okay, yeah, fair. That's probably me.
All right, so we've talked about the back four. Let's talk about that front four, and let's talk about Smith, because we've already talked about the beauty of her goal, but I don't think she stopped.
MVP.
Yeah,
MVP.
I don't think she stopped all game. She's constantly finding pockets of space and getting up there and winding up the back three of Kansas City.
I have so much to say about Sophia Smith. The first I'll say is most people have probably seen this in the post game, she made mention of, I'm aware that some people don't think I should have gotten MVP. So that's what that is what she said. And
I love it.
I think we don't need to say much more.
No.
Sophia Smith is 21 years old, everybody. She is 21 years old, and she is just raw talent that continues to get better and better every single year, smarter about soccer. And oh my goodness, what a joy she was to watch in this game.
She plays like someone who's been playing as 28, who's 28, 29,
yeah,
30. You forget she's so young because it was just pulling those defenders out of position, making great runs, finding those pockets of space.
Truly. And we have to give credit to Morgan Weaver, who also I think had a great game, because Morgan Weaver presents such a threat down the line that it has to open up space for Sophia Smith. And that in itself pulled Kansas City far enough out of position because it's pulling them towards the touch lines. And when you have a back three, you can't be pulled towards the touch lines. It was pulling Kansas City's number 6, Desiree Scott. Almost every time you looked up, Desiree Scott was over on the sideline. If that's not out of position for a number 6, I don't know what is. And it's because of those wingers too that Portland was able to pull Kansas City out of position, which also made space for Sophia Smith. And they were methodical. They dominated.
You can tell that they'd watched their opponents and was like, right, if they're gonna play out like this, then we need to do this.
I want to throw some love into the midfield. I love that we're basically just calling out all of everybody in.
I was going to say, I think it's basically easier to say who didn't have a good game in Portland.
Which is nobody, honestly. They all played fantastic. They played fantastic together. I do really want to shout out Sam Coffey, though. I guess, and Rocky Rodriguez. So everybody, but specifically, those two really pull the strings for this team. Rocky is such an underrated. I think I said this to my friend when I was sitting in the stands. I was like, she's such an underrated player in this league.
Yeah, and like I think a few people were like outstanding when she scored that insane goal to get them back in. But then she's a magician in midfield.
Oh, she is, isn't she?
She's a magician in midfield. Like, we talk about it all the time. We say this all the time on this podcast. Games are won and lost in midfield. Games and lost are always won in midfield. And then you look at the way that Rocky and Coffey worked together.
Yeah.
In that midfield, they were brilliant feeding between the defence up top. And it was just a masterclass in how to run a game.
Like we said at the top, the best team won. And bring on next season. I guess, let's end this by talking about really what next season will hold for both of these teams.
Do you know what? I think despite their lackluster performance, I think Kansas City have got a lot to be proud of.
Oh, absolutely.
They got as far as they did. They just need a couple of tweaks in terms of recruitment, and they are going to be a team that's up there competing with your Portlands, your San Diegos, your OL Reigns. So they just need literally a couple and even if that's just getting Mewis and Williams back,
I think it is.
And then those are the missing puzzle pieces. Portland need to hold on to some players. They need to, and I think they will after this great win that they've had. There's very little I think they need to do just apart from just keep that team as intact as possible.
I have nothing to add. I think I completely agree. Only positive things going forward, I think, for both of these teams. Exciting times in Kansas City. Congratulations to the Portland Thorns. Let's go around the world, around the world.
Over to Spain. Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and Madrid CFF are all tied in second place at 13 points each. While it doesn't appear that anyone can touch Barcelona still, the battle for the Champions League spots have certainly gotten more competitive. Sociedad and Levante sit just 1 and 2 points below the second place teams respectively. For now, it seems it will be a 5-team battle for the last 2 Champions League spots.
Over to France, Division 1 Arkema saw 3 straight red cards this weekend. Both Montpellier and Paris FC lost a player to a red card in the 91st minute in Paris FC's 3-1 victory. Lyon played 9th place Fleury, and it was wild, everybody. Fleury lost Kowalski to a red in the 25th minute, and yet this game remained tied 0-0 until the 92nd minute when Lyon narrowly escaped a draw thanks to Wendy Renard's last-minute goal.
Over to Germany. Wolfsburg are still atop the table with Eintracht Frankfurt in second and Bayern Munich are in third.
Finally, over to Mexico. We are already into the semi-finals for La Liga MX Apertura. Both semi-final games will be this Thursday, November 3rd. Time and teams to be determined as the quarterfinals are finishing up right now as we record.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides researched analysis on loads of football games, including women's football. Want to know why Miedemar scores so many goals? Do you want to explore how City have turned it around this season? Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and sign up to learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type woso10 to get a full year for €10. That's €40 off the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type woso10 at checkout.
Over to the FAWSL.
We've picked West Ham and Arsenal because it was a crazy, spicy game. But there were so many crazy, spicy games. I just want to give a really quick shout out to the Leicester-Reading battle at the bottom of the table. Leicester were looking like they were on course to get their first 3 points of the season when Rachel Rowe comes out of absolute nowhere in the 90th and 93rd minute with an absolute rocket to give Reading the 3 points. It was insanity. But yeah, let's get into our game of the week in the WSL.
Game of the week in the WSL is none other than Arsenal West Ham. Arsenal took this one 3-1, but it truly did not look like that was going to be the case in, I would say, the first half of this game. So, and Allie, you were there as press. Anything noteworthy come up while you were there?
First off, I was sat in front of Sue Smith, which was very hard not to fangirl because it's Sue Smith, the legend that is. I have to say, Arsenal have got their stuff together for like us independent journalists, because we got to go into the mixed media zone. We got time with both managers and Jordan Nobbs. There's going to be some great video content I'm going to throw up once I've edited it. But genuinely, it was like a great experience overall for Preston. It was my first thing for the WOSO show, which was very exciting.
Okay, well, I mean, honestly, what a wild start to this game. We've got to just get into it from the beginning, because right from the bat, it looks like West Ham goes up 1-0, score off of a corner kick, and then it gets called back.
Yeah, which I will obviously declare my biases. I am a West Ham fan, but literally every media source and like every other person that I have spoken to, even Arsenal fans included, doesn't understand why it got called back. The ref, I think, thought she saw a foul on Kim Little in the build-up, so that's why she called it off. Others are saying is the fact that it shouldn't have been a corner in the first place, so she was righting a wrong that way, which I think is stupid. But anyway, I honestly think Kim Little slipped over and the ref thought she saw that.
But this becomes important simply because then West Ham score a goal that is allowed, not disallowed. And I mean, first of all, we should talk about everything that broke down for Arsenal in that goal.
Arsenal screwed up in a real, like, very rare lapse in judgment. I was watching it and all of us in the press were like, did that actually happen?
Yeah, it was like a glitch in the space-time continuum almost. It
was like a back pass, so obviously Zinsberger couldn't pick it up.
Can we go back before it was even a back pass though? Because it was a great ball into Ayesi and she just messed up on her touch. It looked like if she could have taken a touch off her back foot, she could have done that on a half turn and had a shot. But she completely whiffed it. And you're thinking, okay, great. This Arsenal center back, we're just going to play it on back to Zinsberger. She'll clear it. And yeah, I mean, continue. What was going on?
Yeah, so it was like a terrible kick from the centre back. Zinsberg doesn't know what to do with it, tries to clear it, sort of skims her foot over the top of it so the ball doesn't actually really go anywhere, and then Dagny sort of dribbles towards the goal. It gets sort of cleared and then Dagny taps it in. It was of all the goals to break your clean sheet record, because Arsenal have held a clean sheet in the WSL for I think it's 14, 15 games, to lose your streak to such a, and I'm going to call it pathetic goal. You would much rather it have been the header corner that had been pulled back than that complete miscommunication and the ball just dribbling into the back of the net.
Look, there's not too much to say about it on Arsenal's front, because it's not like you're, oh my gosh, why does this happen? It was a breakdown. It was a bad one. And to your point, that is not the one that you want to break your streak. But Nobbsy scored right before halftime to tie it, and then it was just destruction.
Well, let's talk about Jordan Nobbs. So, poor Kim Little, something happened, and I don't know if it was a tackle or what it is, but she'd gone down a couple of times with her ankle, and she kept soldiering on, and then about 40 minutes into the first half, she just sat down and was done, and was just done. And that wasn't based on a tackle or anything else like that. It was literally, she was done.
Not Kim.
Exactly. That's what everybody in the press box was saying. Not Kim Little. And she was hobbling with the two physios. So she's come off prematurely, ended up getting stretchered off. And then Jordan Nobbs comes on playing the number 8 role, which is the role Jordan Nobbs is born to play. We've talked about sixes all the time, but the number 8 role, it's Georgia Stanway and Jordan Nobbs. Those are the two that play that so deliciously.
It's who has untapped, unlimited energy to run up and down the field, box to box? Definitely Nobbsy.
And even as a fan, I have to say, it's her first touch of the game. She's come on, and just rocket of a goal to equalise for Arsenal.
It was an absolute rocket. And look, I don't want to turn this into like a big thing, but we all know that Jordan Nobbs has not gotten her dues with the England national team.
Nope.
For many reasons, like sometimes just because she wasn't called up and also because of injury.
Yeah. She's probably one of the most unlucky international players because she's been injured before 2 major tournaments for England.
Most recently, the Euros, like heartbreakingly awful timing. So I don't want to turn this into like, it's not a Kim Little or Jordan Nobbs thing. It's really not. But if anything good can come out of this, it's that Jordan Nobbs is healthy. She might get more playing time. And I'm excited to see that Jordan Nobbs because we haven't seen her with consistent playing time in a long time.
She's been Arsenal's player of the match the last 2 matches, and you can see it because she absolutely bosses it.
She's the next Beth Mead revenge tour.
Yes.
It's going to turn into the Nobbsy revenge tour. Let's go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So second half, I will say that I think the scoreline doesn't quite reflect. It wasn't like Arsenal were like all over us and West Ham.
You're saying West Ham had good chances. They still had opportunities to score in the second half. They just weren't able to fully capitalize them. They were dangerous though.
Exactly. All of the goals for Arsenal were like they were insane goals. And it was a spicy game. Arsenal and West Ham are very physical teams. And they've got very physical players. But one of my favourite moments from that game is you've got Katie McCabe running down the wing and our Norwegian youngster, Tovag, literally can't catch her, can't stop her, literally pulls her hair and pulls her over, like gets the ponytail and pulls her over.
If there's anybody you don't want to do that to, it's Katie McCabe.
Who also, fun fact, booted the ball and knocked a spectator's drink out of their hand.
Oh, I saw that.
So talk about that second goal. Blackstenius' goal was, again, doing what she does best. She got, again, Jordan Nobbs fed the ball through. Blackstenius just...
This Arsenal team is so deep and so talented.
Yeah.
The fact that like Vivian Miedema was not even starting on this pitch and these are the goals that were scored, it's really stunning. I think we have to give some props here to West Ham because West Ham last year could not have been in this game like they were. And especially 2 years ago, they could not. West Ham is slowly creeping up the ladder of the WSL. And yes, they are still a mid-table team, but they are creeping up to the top of the mid-tier table. And like you said, you know, I mean, I guess how do you feel about this assessment of a large piece of the difference between these two was that Arsenal were able to convert on those very dangerous chances and West Ham were not?
I think that's a very fair assessment. I think it was an absolutely fair assessment. Like, we would fire shots, but they were straight at Zinsberg, or they were out. Yeah, like, it was the same thing. And whereas Arsenal had the more creativity, but it wasn't a bad performance from West Ham.
Yeah, 2 years ago, you look at Arsenal West Ham, and you don't even turn that game on. And the other day, I was really pumped to turn that game on because I knew it was going to be competitive.
The game I'm super excited about is Arsenal play Man United in a couple of weeks, and I cannot wait for that tasty fixture.
This is turning into some spicy WSL. Let's move over to Brighton because we want to talk about Brighton, but I just have to say, like, there's so many. I'm looking at these standings. There's so many teams I want to highlight. We're gonna have to knock off like 2 per week from now on, or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the NWSL's done.
Now that that's over, and we can finally talk about this. I mean, like, for crying out loud, Allie, like we could have just talked about how City barely squeezed by Liverpool.
I know that this weekend was insane in the WSL. It was insane, but the most insane result has to be Spurs beating Brighton 8-0. And I thought we were gone from those like hockey results of like 8-0.
I'm sure you also thought that if we did get one, it wasn't going to be Tottenham delivering that. Like, no offense to Tottenham, but that's not what you think of when you think of like Chelsea taking it 7-0 to Leicester City. Sorry, Leicester City.
Yeah, but
that's true, what you think of.
You sure? So poor Brighton. They did not play well in that game. It was Spurs. It was a mixture of Spurs playing better than they have been, and Brighton poor. They were shockingly bad.
And then this news dropped today that the head coach Hope Powell has resigned. And we don't have all that much information, but this is massive. Hope Powell has been at Brighton for 5 years now, is it?
Yeah, she's been there at 5 years. She's an institution. She's one of the longest running managers outside Emma Hayes and Kelly Chambers. So it is shocking. I think, to be honest, she's been unhappy for a while. Like, there were rumours that she was going to go for the Everton job this summer and then didn't. And it's clear that Brighton aren't supporting their women's team. Like, they had another mass exodus this summer. They've had barely any recruitment this summer. You feel like hope was done, and then this is a good excuse for her to be done.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, that it really does come down to an investment. And that's really how it is. I feel for these fans, though, who have lost their head coach midseason, who have seen their team just really fall over the past year. I mean, we did a whole WSL transfer Patreon episode, right, Allie? And there was nothing to talk about for Brighton.
No, apart from who they lost.
Right, apart from who they lost.
So, like, obviously the big one they lost was Maya Letitia, who obviously went to Man United and is tearing up Man United and the league that way. And there's just no one that went to Brighton. And I know it's going to be a bit of a hard sell. And the thing now is, who do you get in to replace her? Because if you're not investing, because ideally you want someone like a Jane Ludlow. You want someone like
someone
that,
who attracts players.
Is a good, solid coach, knows what they're doing. Players love them. They relate well to them and things like that. But you're not going to pay Jane Ludlow wages. So you're going to end up with somebody that's maybe, has a bit of coaching experience. Maybe that's within the Brighton setup, that's coached younger ages and is coming through.
Right, or even an assistant coach who's now stepping into a head coach role but has been in the Brighton system. But it's not somebody who's going to change the way Brighton is falling so far.
Exactly. And as our good editor Mike said, they seem to be coasting on the fact there's only one relegation spot and they won't lose to Leicester. But as we saw last season, Leicester can do it. Leicester can come from absolutely nothing to bounce up and get themselves into a safe spot. So there is no guarantee Brighton will stay up.
Absolutely not. If I'm Brighton right now, if I'm a Brighton fan, I am worried. I am so worried about this season now that your head coach is gone. This showing where you've lost 8-0 to Tottenham. And let's face it, you're looking at a really tough year. We're only 5 games in. They had 1 win. They've dropped 4 otherwise. And it's just really going to be... Honestly, they might be my pick now to go down. It's just spiraling out of control very quickly now.
If you were Hope, where would you go now?
If I was Hope Powell, I would want to leave the WSL for a moment, I think. It's going to be tough for her to find another position. It's not like she's done a terrible job with Brighton. She's done a great job, but I think coming off of Brighton, it'll be hard for her to get a position at a team that's on the rise. I think you leave the WSL.
I was going to say, if I was Hope, I would go to a championship team. I think she's got the great expertise to bring up, a Durham that's currently mid-table in the championship, Coventry, that sort of team to get them a Blackburn, a London City Lionesses.
A club that's investing, too, in the championship, where she can also have kind of like the keys to the lockbox like Casey Stoney had, where she can build the team that she wants to coach and put that together and have kind of free reign over that and then take them into the WSL.
So if I was Hope, that's what I would do.
We're going to stay in the WSL for the last topic we have here. Breaking news out of England today. It pertains to the England national team and the WSL, frankly, because Hannah Hampton, the young star Aston Villa goalkeeper, has been officially dropped by Sarina Wegman because of, quote, her behavior and attitude at the team's camps. The Guardian just reported this on Monday, and there's a lot of chatter just about Hannah Hampton's attitude. She was left off of some Villa rosters. She was told to stay at home, but there was never any information really given. It was always just said that she was dealing with some things. Now, it's noted that Hannah Hampton's, she's 21 years old. She's very young, and she is a talent of talents. But this has to be discussed, and we were texting about this, Allie. The first question that I think came to both of our minds of, this is a very interesting debate because we both thought of Hope Solo.
Goalkeepers, but yes, it was Hope Solo.
Talent and attitude. And what is the balance? When does it slide too much to one side where your attitude is too much to overtake your talent? I guess I'll also just throw in this very interesting point of view, I guess, that my friend had of, she's only 21. How about instead of ragging on her, which by the way, we're not doing, maybe she needs some mental health help right now. We don't know what's going on in her life, which is true, but we still should talk about this very interesting moment.
No, it is. It's one of those things because everybody's being very vague, and it seems to have come to light because a journalist asked Carla Ward because Anna Lee, their backup goalkeeper, got starting against Chelsea, and said, "Well, where's Hannah? Is she still injured?" Because there was a thing, she'd got concussion and stuff like that. And Carla Ward said she was available, but due to something that happened on the Saturday in training, made herself unavailable and told her to go home. And like, first off, this is not the first time Carla has like aired dirty laundry about Villa, so that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other thing.
And then it's now come out that Serena's dropped her for similar attitude problems, and it's like, nobody's saying what exactly she's done. No one is saying like outright these are specific incidents or she's cocky, she's rude, she's whatever. No one. It's just very vague in the fact that behavior.
Yeah, that's a good point. So there's not much in that sense for us to comment on. And obviously we hope she gets the help she deserves. I don't blame Serena Wagman for, like, this is the England national team. I do not blame her for dropping Hannah Hampton. That is not your career is done. That is go sort your stuff out, and when you are ready, then you will be back in. Villa, on the other hand, needs to be giving her the support that she needs.
Yeah, exactly. I do think it's a bit crass for Carla Ward to like out her like that.
That's true. I agree.
I'm a bit like, there are ways and means you could have worded that, Carla Ward.
Yeah. Shall we end it on high in some way? What a week. What a week, everybody. That NWSL is over, but oh boy, we've got WSL, we've got Champions League. As always, we will be back next week. We've got tons of segments coming out on our Patreon, patreon.com/The Woso Show. So head over there. And that's it for us this week. For the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Ali.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.